Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the start of a 3-part series in which we 100% perhaps one of my favourite series of games, and that is the Metro series. Now, I'm not lying when I say I love these games. I played through both the original 2033 and Last Light on 360, which I absolutely loved. I played through both Redux versions of those games on Xbox One when they released, which I loved even more. I played through Metro Exodus on Xbox, and they've even platinumed both Redux games and Exodus on PlayStation. Which brings us to this video. I was just itching to go through these games again, and so with the help of Steam and the fact that I can still get the Exodus PS4 Platinum, I thought that for the first two games, those being this one 2033 and the next being Last Light, I'll be getting all of the achievements on Steam, and then I'll play the PS4 version of Metro Exodus in order to get the Platinum Trophy. Yes, I could, and it would probably make more sense to do it on PC, but honestly, I want another Platinum. So with that, let's start one of my favourite series of games and get all of the achievements. Enjoy. In 2013, an all-out nuclear war broke out, resulting in a nuclear apocalypse and the destruction of the world. We are in Moscow, and with hundreds of thousands dead and the surface now uninhabitable due to nuclear winter, this caused the remaining survivors to retreat underground into Moscow's metro stations and gave rise to mutants and a much more evolved mutant known as the Dark Ones, who had absolutely no issue in attacking and killing anyone it come across by entering their minds and causing them to go insane. We begin the game as Artyom along with our comrade Miller, and we are on our way up to the surface to complete a mission. Once we reach the surface, we soon get ambushed by some of the mutants I mentioned earlier, these ones being called the Nasalis. Weird, mutated, almost wolf-like creatures that typically hunt in packs, and it turns out today we was their chosen prey. Unfortunately, the only thing they were going to be eating was the metal from our bullets, and we soon take out the Nasalis and proceed further outside and make our way towards a frankly overcompensating tower. On our way there, we are almost hit and run by some humans. These humans though just turned out to be a few more of our comrades, and we all regrouped for a little chat. Our chat was cut short however when an absolutely massive herd of Nasalis begin rushing past us, with a few stragglers leaving us with no choice but to go down fighting. And that's exactly what happens. We are eventually overwhelmed by some of the Nasalis, our mates get eaten in front of us, and a much bigger mutant known as a demon comes to join in on the fun. The game then cuts to black and we are taken back 8 days prior to the event. We find ourselves back as Artyom in our home station of exhibition and are visited by our stepfather Alex and are told to come with him to meet up with a ranger named Hunter. Immediately looking around, you can see the living conditions of life down in the metro tunnels. Filthy, overcrowded, and in some cases shacks, shops and other buildings are packed so tightly together it's enough to give anyone claustrophobia. Now, while following Alex and at various other points throughout the game, we are given the opportunity to earn morale points. Noticeable when the edges of the screen will pulse white, and we usually get them for performing good deeds, but can be for just discovering things as well. These can be earned a variety of different ways, and we need to get as many of them as possible in order to get the alternate ending and the enlightened achievement. This area, simply listening to what some of the other survivors have to say or donating a military grade bullet, which is the economy of this game, earns us a few points. We also overhear word that the Dark Ones have begun attacking closer to the station and are hoping to get some help from Hunter. Speaking of Hunter, we eventually meet up with the man himself, and he's even brought us a gift from his travels through the metro. Before we could get well acquainted with each other again, however, it was time to put our shooting gloves on, as all of a sudden the mutants start breaking in through the ventilation. Now, there is a missable achievement we can earn here, and I did reload my checkpoint a couple of times because I missed it. Basically, the goal is to kill all of these guys before they manage to bust through the 4 ventilation shafts on the wall, which pretty much means you have to make sure you are consistently headshotting the mutants. Eventually though, we do manage to get it done, and funnily enough unlock 2 achievements right here. The first is the tank achievement for killing 10 enemies in a row without taking damage, and the second of course being the quick draw achievement for killing all of the Nasalis before they break through.
Artyom, are you alright?
After dealing with the Nasalis, we are then informed that the Dark Ones have made an appearance further down the exhibition tunnels at a nearby outpost, and so we rush straight over there to investigate. Upon arriving, however, it appears that everyone has unfortunately met their end, and so Hunter tells us that he is going to investigate the Dark Ones, and should he not return, then to take his dog tags to Police Station and to find a man named Miller and inform him of the situation. Of course, Hunter never returns, and so now it was up to us to head to Police to deliver the message and information to Miller. Before leaving though, we we make sure to say our goodbyes and to stock up on plenty of supplies, weapons, ammo, medkits, and of course gas masks and filters. Now stocked up and ready to go, we meet with a few fellow exhibitionists who also happen to be leaving the station and hitch a ride with them. While making our way through the tunnels, everything seemed just a little bit too quiet, which of course could only mean one thing. Some shit was about to go down, and moments later a weird floating electrical orb type thing comes down the tunnel towards us, and we then pass out. While out, we seem to experience some sort of vision or hallucination or dream kind of thing, where we witness Hunter getting attacked by a Dark One before shortly coming back around. Once we are back awake, however, there was no time to get our bearings, as we are shortly attacked by a group of Nazalis, and we are left to defend the cart while escaping down the tunnel. Although it wasn't the smoothest of journeys, and we do lose a man along the way, we do eventually make it to the safety of the Riga station, and of course there is only one way to celebrate that, and that's by hitting the local bar and grabbing a few drinks. Slightly sloshed, we begin to make our way through Riga station, during which we come across a young boy who tells us that a man is wanting to meet with us and that he'll guide us to him for 1 bullet. We agree, and doing so unlocks the generous achievement for helping everyone we come across, basically linked to the morality point system for the alternate enlightened ending. We eventually meet with the man who reveals himself to be Bourbon. He tells us that he knows we are heading towards Polis and that it's the same way that he's going, so he requests our help in getting him to Dry Station. Typically he wouldn't need our help, but as the station is currently in lockdown and some of the tunnels sealed off, we will need to take a bit more of a dangerous route. It wasn't for free of course, and offers up an AK as a reward as well as an advance payment of some bullets. We of course agree to help and begin our journey through the metro tunnels. While making our way through the tunnels, we discover that a group of bandits has set up a little small outpost in the tunnels, and our only choice was to go through them. I of course chose to do this stealthily and proceeded to take out all of the guards while sticking to the shadows. Now I actually failed this twice because I forgot to check a back room that had a guard in it, so twice I was caught while trying to escape. The third time I realised my mistake, but while going through the area again I managed to unlock the snake achievement for stealthily killing 15 enemies. I realised I could actually use this checkpoint for a few achievements, and again, as I've already played through this game fully multiple times, I had no issue utilising that. Don't worry though, I didn't sit here and get every combat related achievement right now. I only ended up getting one more, and that was the sniper achievement for killing 30 enemies with headshots. Something that is very easily done naturally, so I have no idea why I chose to do it now, but I did. Anyway, we make it past the bandits and continue on through the tunnel fighting plenty of Nazalis along the way. We also discover a room now turned graveyard and proceed to loot all of the bodies while Bourbon gets to work on opening the gate. During this time we are once again hit by some kind of strange anomaly and are thrown into another type of vision. Bourbon is also affected by the vision at this point, so we struggle through the vision trying to save Bourbon and get through the gate. Thankfully, but also strangely, we are saved by a Dark One and are pulled out of the vision. Also thankfully, we are close to another station known as the Market, and luckily Bourbon has a debt with some of the people there and they come to our rescue dealing with the incoming Nazalis and let us into the station. Much like the other stations, we spend most of our time stocking up on supplies and listening to the countless conversations being had for the moral points we need. We meet back up with Bourbon and he tells us that we now need to head to the surface to make our way closer to Dry Station, and with that we quickly take our leave as it seems Bourbon has once again failed to pay his debts. We are now in Dead City and we have to now make our way through its ruins, highly radioactive areas and its many mutants, during which we of course get separated from Bourbon and are reintroduced to the demons we saw in the beginning of the game. However, we try our best to avoid them for now. We do however come across a radiation hotspot and proceed to sit inside it for one whole minute. Luckily we didn't grow any extra limbs, just some extra inches where it counts, and also unlock the Manhattan Project achievement for overexposing ourselves to the radiation. While making our way through the city, I was also on the lookout for all of the hidden Rager caches for another achievement. Just to ensure I don't miss anything, I did get up a quick guide detailing all of the lootable bodies, containers and hideouts during this mission. And there was a lot, so I was really worried that I was going to miss something and have to do it on my second playthrough. Thankfully though, I didn't miss anything, and shortly after meeting back up with Bourbon, we find our last Ranger cache and unlock the Ranger achievement. And a little while later, after narrowly escaping becoming a demon's dinner, we find the entrance to Dry Station and proceed to make our way inside. Bourbon then reveals to us that the station is on lockdown due to the fact that it is run by bandits, and that if we can't find his friends, then we get the hell out of there. A few moments after quickly discussing his flawless plan, he then ends up getting captured by some of the bandits, and we are now of course left to save him. He did technically though keep up his end of the bargain, as we now have his AK and the rest of his supplies to go with it. Now I could go in guns blazing and it would probably work out a lot faster, however we are again after those moral points, and getting through this area without getting seen nabs us another one, so I proceeded to sneak through part of the station, silently knocking out any guards that got in my way, while also noticing someone seemingly helping us from the shadows. We also discover a bandit hiding out behind some crates getting litty, and so I decided to join him. A little bit high, we make our way through the station and we eventually find Bourbon being interrogated by one of the bandits. However, the altercation ends with a truly final kill cam worthy clip as they both end up shooting each other, finishing one another off. All of a sudden, our Shadow Man friend makes an appearance, and this man introduces himself as Khan. He tells us that he is making his way back to Kerr Station, and that if we didn't want to end up like our friend, then to go with him. And go with him we shall, and we proceed to make our way deeper into the metro. These next few tunnels, however, seem to be a breeding ground for supernatural entities, as we experience multiple phenomena like weird groups of shadow people that will kill you should you stray too far, but thankfully Bourbon is one with the spirits and is able to guide us through safely. He also tells us that the weird electrical anomalies we've been seeing can easily be avoided by simply standing still and not getting in their way, and soon even get to put this to the test as we end up getting attacked by a massive group of Nazalis, but end up being saved thanks to our standing still abilities and the power of the anomalies. And soon after, we were taking a cart towards Cursed Station. Upon arriving, it seems that the station is truly cursed, as we discover that it has been attacked by a horde of Nazalis, and it's up to us to help the station's guards blow up the tunnels, sealing off the entry points. Thankfully, this wasn't too difficult, and any Nazalis that was around met a swift end, and we eventually blow up both tunnel entrances and unlock the Demolitionist achievement. After helping out Kerr Station, Khan tells us that he will no longer be coming with us as he needs to stay behind and help them rebuild. However, he does point us in the right direction to Polis and tells us to meet with his friend Andrew the blacksmith while making our way through Armory Station, who will be able to help us further on our journey. Once at the station, we discover that it is under the control of the Red Army and that we will need to watch what we do. Well, we didn't do that and instead find ourselves making an escape from the incoming soldiers with our new friend. Unfortunately, he doesn't make the escape and ends up being gunned down, and we would have shortly followed if it wasn't for the mysterious gentleman pulling us into his shack. This gentleman just so happens to be Andrew the blacksmith, and he tells us that he will help us get to Polis. However, the only way there is through a war zone between the Reds and the Nazis. To make it a bit easier, he gives us a red soldier outfit to disguise ourselves with and had us stow away in the underneath of a carriage taking soldiers to the battlefield. Now immediately, I don't see the point in this outfit as it's completely useless, and we end up being spotted and open fired upon if you get seen by anyone, leaving killing everyone a viable option, which is actually something that I need to do for an achievement later on. However, I will be doing that on my second playthrough of the game. This time we played it stealthily in the attempt to unlock the achievement for completing the mission without killing anyone. This also gets us a morale point. We then proceeded to sneak past the Reds and further into the front line and into Nazi territory, along the way making sure that if I was taking anyone out, it was by using our fists of steel and knocking them out. Absolutely no killing allowed. Of course, the area is swarming with soldiers and traps, so we were constantly on the lookout for anything that may potentially blow our cover. Of course, we do eventually make it through into Nazi territory, and while working our way through it, we find and save a group of Reds that had been captured and was about to bite the bullet. Now, not only do we get a morale point, but we also unlock the Rescue Ranger achievement for saving them. A little further on into enemy territory, we end up getting captured ourselves, but we also unlock the Invisible Man achievement for getting through the previous area with no kills. We soon awaken, and this time it was us who was about to bite the bullet. Thankfully though, we are saved by a couple of Rangers, and I think they described this moment perfectly.
You know, one thing I like about the bad guys, there's always a lot of discussion before they get around to pulling the trigger.
The Rangers reveal themselves to be Ullman and Pavel, and after showing them Hunter's dog tags, they agree to help us get back to Polis to deliver our message to Miller. While Ullman stays to complete his current mission, me and Pavel ride in their armoured car until we reach their rail car. Immediately we notice this armoured car has an LMG, so we already know there's going to be a fair amount of killing ahead. And that was actually closer than you might think, as within a few minutes of setting off, our cover is blown and the Nazis open fire, leaving us no choice but to mow them down. Obviously, a lot of Nazis Nazis died here, which I'm sure contributed to a big portion of our next achievement, that being the warrior achievement for killing 100 human enemies. A short while later, once in the railcar, we find ourselves passing through yet another Nazi outpost. However, this time we were getting through stealthily as I managed to take out the lone tunnel patrol, preventing the guards from being alerted of our presence and also unlocking another achievement in the process. We escape the Nazis but are soon dealing with yet another threat, the Nazalis. Yes, they are back and ready to ruin our day again, and while fighting off the incoming horde, Pavel unfortunately gets grabbed, leading him to detonating a grenade, killing the Nazalis and himself in the process. After escaping what seemed like certain death, we were facing it once again as we start heading down a very steep shaft with absolutely no brakes, and we end up crashing down below. Unfortunately, there's no time to waste and we have to carry on with our mission, and so we pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off and carry on. A short while later we come across some more humans, except these ones didn't want to kill us. They tell us that they have been holding off constant mutant attacks and are expecting another one any minute now, and requests our help in defending the station while they evacuate everyone inside. We of course agree and prepare for the incoming attack, except it wasn't mutants that attacked first, but rather some kind of anomaly causing everyone to black out. When we come back around, we discover that some of our fellow comrades had also lost their lives here, but now was not the time to mourn as we had mutants incoming and there were a lot of them. So much in fact that we added a big portion of progress towards another combat related achievement, that being the Nazalis Hunter achievement for killing a total of 100 Nazalis. After dealing with what seemed like an almost endless horde of Nazalis, we are then hit by another anomaly and once again black out, only this time we wake up to discover nearly everyone else had died and the only other person left except us was on his deathbed anyway. He does hand us a tape though and requests that we reach the broadcast tower at the top of the broadcast station in order to broadcast his message warning the nearby stations of what's going on. As we progress through the now demolished station, we eventually come across a young boy alone and crying over his uncle's dead body. We convince the child to come with us to safety and we proceed further down into the metro. Eventually we do come across some survivors and luckily one of them was this boy's mother, and in return allows us to pass through and restock for our mission. As we reach the surface, we find the broadcast station the soldier told us about earlier, but find it swarming with enemies, and so decided rather than draw any unnecessary attention at the minute, I would find a way up to the top from the outside. Once on top of the station, we find the broadcast tower and insert the tape to broadcast the message, warning the other stations and unlocking the DJ Artyom achievement. We then take down our second demon of the game, unlocking another achievement, and we disarm our 15th trap for yet another achievement. We eventually escape back down into the metro and stumble across Ullman, the other ranger we met earlier. He tells us that he'll help us the rest of the way to D6, but we must either fight or sneak our way through Black Station in order to get to him. Again, another station crawling with the not friendliest of people, and we have to sneak through all of it in order to get another achievement. Only this time, we couldn't knock anyone out either. Thankfully, this wasn't too difficult as we had pretty much done this plenty of times already, and it wasn't long before we met back up with Ullman and had another achievement under our belt.
Climb in here and rest.
And it wasn't long before me and Ullman arrived at Polis, and we met with Colonel Miller to discuss the Dark Ones and what's been happening at Exhibition. He tells us that he will call an emergency council session in hopes of getting them to agree to send help to Exhibition and to investigate the Dark Ones, and that we should attend, which we will be doing very shortly, but we are feeling a little bit nervous, so we had a little sippy sip of that liquid courage and also unlocked another achievement for now drinking at every opportunity given in the game.
In the fucking tunnel.
Just some context, during our visit to many of the friendly stations in this game, we hit the local bars and sampled some of their finest vodka. With a bit more confidence in our step, we then decide to head to the council and ask for their help. Long story short, they said no, but luckily Miller is going to help us anyway along with his team of rangers. He tells us that he knows of a military bunker known as D6 that contains missiles strong enough to completely eradicate the Dark Ones. However, the location of D6 isn't known, and so we must once again head up to the surface and regroup with him near the library to find the necessary documents. And so with that, we head to the library, of course coming across plenty of friendly mutants along the way. I'm kidding, they wanted to eat us, but we gave them a much better meal, some lead. During this time we do end up killing our 50th Watchman for the Watchman Hunter achievement, and we also end up getting our 100th kill with a shotgun, unlocking the Gunman achievement. Eventually, Miller and Danila arrive and we make our way into the library. However, it wasn't long before we was once again alone, as Danila ends up getting injured from a demon attack, leaving Miller no choice but to take him back to Polis. While making our way through the library, we are also introduced to a powerful mutant known as a librarian, and killing one is no easy feat. They are strong and relentless, but taking one down does nab us the Heavy Reader achievement. Now, there is also an alternative to killing these mutants, and that is to simply stare them down. Eventually they just give up and carry on with their day. Well, whatever it is they actually do with their day. Although granted, this doesn't always work, and sometimes they just straight up don't give a damn. Although I'm kinda thankful that another one decided to pick on me, as killing it managed to nab us another achievement. The Hunter achievement for killing a total of 200 mutants. A little while later, after navigating through the library's underground section, we eventually find the D6 documents we were looking for and make our way back up to the surface to regroup with Miller. Thankfully, he appeared right on time, as we was about to become a librarian's dinner and wasn't too fetched on the idea. We then take a trip to the Rangers Church outpost and gear up ready for our move on D6. We also find Khan at the outpost, however he tells us that he won't be coming with us. Kind of seems pointless in him coming all this way to then back out at the last minute. We're not looking for moral support, we're looking for meat shields, I mean comrades. Anyway, with goodbyes out of the way, it was time to head to D6. Of course, something had to make our journey there slightly more difficult. We end up blacking out and having another vision before then having to fight off an onslaught of Nazalis. Now, as these last few areas are now the final portions of the game and some weapons can only be found here, I decided to knock out a few more of the combat related trophies using this checkpoint. We get 30 kills with the Hell's Breath weapon, unlocking the Shocking achievement. We then killed 30 enemies with the flamethrower, unlocking the Pyro achievement. We used explosives to kill a total of 30 enemies for the Kaboom achievement. And we also get a kill with each kind of weapon for the Weaponsmith achievement. We eventually make it to a connecting station to D6, and of course this place is filled to the brim with mutants, leaving us having to fight through an almost constant flow of them. This of course does mean that quite a lot of blood gets spilled, be it ours or mutant, and sometimes that gets on our gas mask's visor and gets in our way. Thankfully we can wipe all that muck off, and this just so happens to be the 20th time we do it, as we unlock another achievement for doing so. While working our way through the station, we unfortunately lose another fellow ranger and end up getting split up from the group, leaving us having to navigate our way back to them, as well as being introduced to a new enemy type: giant mutated spiders. Just what this world needs, right? Thankfully they are scared and injured by direct light, so we are able to keep them at bay. There's also an achievement for killing 10 of them, and this is the only place you can get it done, but I forgot to do it here, so that will be done in our next playthrough. Eventually though, we end up finding our way back to Miller and the others, and also find ourselves an actual working train which we can use to take to D6. Once at D6 we managed to get power running to the control center, however it was not enough. We now needed to head down to one of the lower levels to activate D6's main power reactor in order to access and launch the missiles. While heading down towards the reactor, we notice the place is covered in some sort of weird mutated mass, which has also gave spawn to a new enemy type. That being these weird explosive ball type things called amoebas, and killing 5 of these creatures before they can squirt their juice into us unlocks the Pathoanatomist achievement. We eventually make it to the reactor and discovered it covered in the same sort of mass we had seen before, and is probably the cause of the amoebas. Unlike the other mass we have seen, this one is quite happy to spit acid in our face and doesn't like us fiddling around with the reactor's cooling rods to get it up and running again. Now it can spit all it wants, we of course get the reactor working regardless thanks to an overhead crane and bring power to D6. We then regroup back up with Miller and Ullman, where we are given a laser target designator in order to aim the missiles. This then takes us to a very familiar location. We are back at the very start of the game with a large tower, and where we of course get ambushed, only this time we discover that we do in fact survive the encounter, and me and Miller fight our way towards the tower. During that we managed to pick up a few more military grade bullets, although I can't actually use them anymore, and it turns out I wasn't spending as much as I thought I was anyway, as we end up unlocking the Scrooge achievement for saving up a total of 1000 military grade rounds. We eventually reached the tower and we decided the quickest way would be to take the elevator, and even by how long that took, I couldn't even begin to imagine how long it would have took taking the stairs. We ended up getting off a little bit early and so had to make our way back up a few more levels to regroup with Miller. As we do though, a demon smashes through the side of the tower, and although we do save him, he is unfortunately left out of commission, and it was now up to us to continue to the top and place the designator. And on our way up to the top of the tower, we collect our final diary entry of the game, unlocking the blogger achievement. While climbing the tower, we also experienced quite a few visions, but the weirdest one was about to come. As we placed down the designator, we experienced another vision where now the Dark Ones were actively trying to stop us by chasing us down through maze-like corridors and floating pathways. And I hate to say it, but these floating platforms got me a couple of times, and Artyom had a pretty lengthy drop ahead of him. Soon though, Hunter makes an appearance in these visions and hands us a revolver, telling us that if it's hostile, you kill it. And so with a revolver in hand, we take aim and fire at the Dark One, unlocking us the Spartan 2033 achievement for finishing the game on Spartan mode. At this point we then come back around from our vision, and due to all of the morality points we were trying to get throughout the game, we are now given a choice. We hear Khan's voice in our head and recollect something he told us earlier, now giving us the option between two endings. We can either kill the Dark One and let the missiles destroy their home and species for the actual ending of the game, or we can get an alternative enlightened ending for shooting the target designator, preventing their destruction. And so we chose to shoot the target designator, saving the Dark Ones and unlocking the enlightened achievement for finding the truth. The camera then pans out over the dead city and Artyom takes a moment to recollect on his decisions. He quotes something H.G. Wells once said, that if we don't end wars, then wars will end us, and realises that he had actually managed to stop his war. Although he wasn't sure why he actually spared the Dark Ones, he realised that maybe these visions were their attempt to reach out to the human race, and seems hopeful for further communication in the future. Can't lie, I was a bit annoyed. As you may realise, the cutscene was photobombed by another area of the map failing to leave the scene, so it does ruin this ending a little bit, but you get the idea. And with that being the ending, this does bring us to the end of the main story. Well, at least the alternate main story anyway. So all that's left to do now is one more playthrough, this time picking survivor mode instead of Spartan, and playing through to get the game's true ending, as well as obtain all of the other miscellaneous trophies we missed out along the way. Now, I'm not going to go into heavy detail here, as it's basically the exact same thing we have done in the first playthrough, minus the collectibles and minus the stealth, because our goal here was just to get through these missions as quickly as possible, using all of the enemies to get the combat related achievements completed as quickly as possible, of course utilising a checkpoint if I thought it would help, and a few of the missions actually had achievements specifically for killing everyone on said level. Now, we've got a decent amount of achievements to go through, so let's get started. Our first achievement was the Marksman achievement for killing 15 human enemies with headshots from at least 30 meters distance. We then knocked out 30 human enemies in close combat for the Stunning achievement. Instead of knocking out 30 enemies now, we straight up just stabbed them for the Slice and Dice achievement. We open a total of 15 locked safes for the Thief achievement. We exchange a total of 500 military grade rounds at ammo exchange kiosks that can be found at stations for the Wheeler Dealer achievement. And we also make a total of 30 deals in weapon shops at these stations for the Metro Trader achievement. Now back to combat, we actually used the frontline level as it had a large number of enemies, and it also had the mission related achievement for killing everyone, so this was perfect for nearly all of the remaining combat achievements. We unlocked the Trigger Happy achievement for getting 100 kills with assault rifles, the Cowboy achievement for 100 kills with revolvers, the Airbender achievement for 50 human kills with pneumatic weapons, the Tonic Man achievement for using a medkit 75 times, the Fire achievement for killing 30 enemies with flame grenades, and the Ninja achievement for killing 30 enemies with throwing knives. And finally we restarted and went back through the level and made sure to kill absolutely everyone regardless of whether they were German or Russian. Now you have to be very wary when doing this yourself, and there's two guys asleep off to one of the side rooms that for some reason don't wake up. With all the gunfire and explosions going around them, they are just completely out to the world, and as they blend in with the darkness quite well, they're very easy to miss out. Eventually though, we take out our last enemy and make our way to the end of a now very empty metro tunnel, unlocking the Hedgehopper achievement. This then leaves us with our final 4 trophies, 2 of which being combat related that again we are going to quickly go through. The first was for killing some mutants called lurkers, 20 of them in fact for the fire in the hole achievement. Bringing us back into D6 and our final portion of the game. And while here we managed to farm the checkpoint a couple of times in order to kill a total of 10 spiders for the Spider Hunter achievement. You know where it goes from here. We power up D6, head to the tower, save Miller and place the designator. Only this time when it comes down to making a choice, our only one is to watch the missiles launch and completely wipe out the Dark Ones and their home, and getting the game's true ending. Of course for this we do unlock our final 2 achievements, those being Survivor 2033 for beating the game on Survivor mode, and the If It's Hostile You Kill It achievement for becoming a true Ranger and obtaining the true ending. And with that being the final achievement for Metro 2033, this brings us both to the end of the game and the end of the video. With this now being my 4th time playing through Metro 2033 and the 2nd time getting absolutely every achievement or trophy, I have to say I loved it just as much as every other time I've played it. This game holds up extremely well in every aspect. Graphically, while not super realistic by current standards, it still looks amazing. The story is actually really interesting. You always want to know what happens next. You feel connected to the main characters. Even when a character dies that you've only been with for like 2 missions, you still feel a bit bummed that they've gone. I love each of the various stations, tunnels and parts of the city that we get to explore, as well as the combat that we spend a majority of our time doing in each of these areas. This is just a straight up solid game with an engaging story and an enjoyable platinum experience. But anyway, this does bring us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to drop a like and share down below. It shows your support, and your support is always appreciated on the channel. Be sure to let me know what you think of the Metro series down in the comments below, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on to stay up to date with everything I upload. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.